From the beautiful, energetic, and resilient city of Calgary, this is Immigrant Life Podcast, the Canadian narrative. On this show, we engage in real conversations and share true life stories that uncover the lessons learned, tips, strategies, and actionable insights that will help you thrive as a first-generation Canadian immigrant. It doesn't matter what phase of the immigrant journey you're in, we have you in mind. Maybe you're still in your home country, wondering what the Canadian Permanent Residency Visa you now hold in your hands means for you and your family. Or you only recently landed and you're unsure of how to secure a professional job and settle in a good community. Immigrant Life Podcast, the Canadian narrative, has something for you. Perhaps you already have the much coveted professional job and you are just curious how to make a success of it. You may even have been around for some time, settled in your career, and wondering what next. On the other hand, if you're uncertain about how to start or scale your own business, you will love it here. From culture to jobs, language, family dynamics, finances, weather, food, funny learning moments, and everything in between. We discuss it all. As long as you have your Canadian Permanent Residency Visa or citizenship, we have something for you.
Welcome to the Immigrant Life Podcast, the Canadian narrative. As always, my name is Dapo Bankole. How are you guys doing? I know it's been a while that we talked like this. Sometimes I wish I could just hear your voice and, you talk to me. Don't worry, we're getting there. Some point in the future, we're going to have a live session where you can actually talk to me live and ask questions. But again, in the coming future. So I'm happy to be back in the studio today, and I have a very special guest of honor is what I will say. In the studio with me, I have this good friend of mine. I met her, probably about 7 years ago, I think. And we've remained decent friends. I mean, she's abandoned me a few times, guys, don't worry about it. That's normal about life, but it's okay. I've been able to arrest her. She's back, and that's why she's in the studio. So I want to interrogate her. This is not an interview. Anyway, let me leave all that story and just let you know the person you're seeing, for those of you who are actually seeing this at this time, her name is called Pamela Easterbrook. Pam, welcome to Immigrant Life.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, the pleasure is mine for sure, because what we want to talk about, your perspectives with a lot of things can only be yours, cannot be mine. So I am the one gaining here. I'm not saying you are losing, but I am gaining.
Well, I'm gaining because we get to reconnect again. As you pointed out, I've been negligent in contacting for the past few years. So it's a great opportunity to catch up.
Yeah, for sure. That's fine. So thanks for coming in here, Pamela. And guys, you might be wondering, what exactly do we want to talk about? I don't know, but I'm just kidding. So really, what I want to talk about... You guys, you'll have fun. Just watch out. So what we want to talk about today is primarily targeted at, again, as always, first generation Canadians, but that's not even the point. It's targeted at those of us who've been here for a bit. We've been able to go beyond the typical grains, like we've settled in our jobs. We have our home. Now we pretty much own our place. But then, we're thinking at this point for different reasons, right? We feel, we've grown beyond where we're at. Maybe we have a family size has increased, or for some reason, you know what? Our taste has just changed and we deserve it. We want to live grand. We want to, have decent things of life. Yes, we deserve it. The challenge that I've had people point out to me is, they're already in debt already. They took a loan to get a home. They have uncertainty regarding their job and all that. So as much as they want to live a better life, the other side of them is saying, can you afford it? So for me, I think there has to be a middle ground. So we're trying to talk about things like this today, and that's why I've brought in Pam. Pam is an expert, not because she's been doing this for 50 years. That's not a point. But she's no, don't worry. I know there are no gray hairs and all that. So she's not an expert because she's been doing it for 50 years, like I said, but because she's naturally wired for things like this. It's a passion. She takes it as a calling. She's done it for where she lives. In fact, For those of you who are looking at us, you can just look at our background. It's not staged. If you think it's staged, you're just wasting your time anyway. But it's not staged. That's who she is. And I've worked with Pam before. I know the way she wants to set this here and put that one there and put that. And sometimes she gets at me like, hey, Pam, it's okay. It's okay that way. But it's just who she is. So she has your best interest at heart. I mean, for what she does, it's a business. It's not charity. She will charge you. But the point is, instead of you getting into debt, she's going to help you to think differently and see how can you help you answer the question, how can I maximize what I have without breaking the bank? Okay, so that's really all we want to talk about. And again, I'm very, very happy to have Pam in the studio. But then before we go into all that, the normal drill, guys, we have to talk about Pam. Who is Pam? Why? Apart from this thing you want to talk about, so what gave you the right to think you can just come into the studio and come and talk to us? Who are you? Let's have a chat about that. Let's have a word. So Pam, and I know, okay, tell me about yourself. I can ask you 1 million questions, but you talk. It's your show.
Sure. So I came to Canada in 2008, so that's sort of 12 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been here quite a while. I came here quite young. I was sort of looking for new opportunity like most of us are. I was also following a love of my life. I think we've all been there. But what I found in Canada was a place of sort of opportunity. I feel like coming from England, and I've heard other English folks say this, the work-life balance is really hard to find, and you are sometimes working very hard, long hours, and maybe not having as much time for yourself or for downtime. And when I got to Canada, I sort of found a place where people seemed to go for hikes on the weekend, and because they worked for a firm that had benefits, they could, have a massage on the company and like nice tiny little perks like this. And I thought, well, this is great. And so, so I guess, I came to Canada 12 years ago, and they haven't been able to get rid of me since.
So much so now, it's even more difficult now that you're a citizen. At least I know.
That's right. I got that through in 4 years.
No, that's really cool. That's really cool. So one thing, you're one of those people, I think, on this podcast since we started 2018. You're the third person who came here because of love. So I've been fortunate to interview a few people like that. I came here because of love. I'm like, oh, so sweet.
You've got to have a reason. I mean, everyone's reasons are different. So
yeah, absolutely. I know. So that's very good to know. So why? Maybe it's safe for me to assume. The question I was going to ask is why Calgary? Why did you choose Calgary?
I wish I had a better answer for you than my boyfriend at the time, the guy I had come here with, was going to study at SAIT. And of course, I'd come to Canada to be with him, so I would go to Calgary to be with him too. And so I ended up in Calgary by sheer sort of chance, if you will. Having said that, I do feel like Calgary can sometimes be undersold in terms of the benefits here. I really fell in love with the city for many reasons. I kind of like how sprawled out it is, and even in the inner city, it doesn't feel as built up as perhaps, say, in Vancouver or other cities in Canada. I also think there's a lot of creative people and entrepreneurial people here, if you just kind of know where to find them in different pockets. And I've kind of enjoyed you can go to Kensington, or you can go to Mission, or you can go to wherever, Mardeloup or Eau Claire, or these different pockets of the city that all have these kind of interesting people and arts, crafts. So I think Calgary can sometimes be sold as the oil and gas city with the stampede, but there's a lot more to it than that. And So yeah, I just really enjoyed it for that. And then its proximity to the mountain has been great. I really like that opportunity. So even though maybe Calgary wasn't a choice for any of those reasons, it became a choice for those reasons.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. I mean, I love Calgary myself. People always ask why Calgary? Like, did you go somewhere else and then decide to come to? I said no. I just came here, just landed here, and I stayed. And like you said, like you, I think my coming here to was it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't for love, but it was for love. But we chose. We you know what I mean. So we chose here, and even though we had all those dreams, but not only it wasn't until we got here before we finally like discovered what Calgary is and all the attractions, and we're just like, you know what, we can visit everywhere else, but this is home. You know?
Yeah, I feel that way too. I really do. I think it kind of hit for me, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. I was coming back on the plane from England, and for the first time, I think I'm like, oh, I'm so glad to be back. Like this felt like my home, and it was just really nice.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about your beginning. And I know, sure, now we have a context to your beginning, but what was it like for you integrating here and, getting a job, which is the usual thing. Once people land, the next thing, how do I get work? How do I get work? Sure, because you have bills to pay, you want to take care of yourself and feel good. So how was things like for you?
Sure. So I'll start by saying the strangest thing was at the airport when I first landed, going for a cup of tea and asking for tea, and they're like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "Tea," and they're like, "What type of tea?" And this was my first sort of, oh, it's not quite the same as home. And of course, I wanted a black tea with milk, but that's the Awake at Starbucks. At least it was then. And I'm still not a fan of herbal teas. Anyway, I digress. So, of course, just like everyone else, my first priority, find a job. Second priority, find accommodation. And I say it's in that order because I would say you need a job to pay for accommodation. So before I even landed, I was already sending out my resume to companies. Yeah, I was interested in working for. I knew I would need a job fairly soon after arriving. And I wanted to kind of get that so I could perhaps be sponsored by that company to stay in Canada as a way to become a permanent resident, because the person I was moving with was already a permanent resident. So whilst he'd be able to stay, I might theoretically get sent back if not. So I really focused on finding a job before I got here. And I would say I was fairly lucky that sort of maybe the month I landed, I had got a job starting June 1st, which is a month after. And so, yeah, I think I was quite lucky in that regard. But at the same time, a certain amount of luck is made, right? I applied for lots of jobs. I made an effort. I tried. And I think through trying, you succeed. So, so once that had happened, me and my partner, we drove to Calgary. We stayed in a room at this older couple's house, and we're looking for an apartment in the town. And again, we're fairly lucky in that regard too, because of course we didn't have any furniture. We came with just our personal belongings. And this couple were going to downsize their house. So they were just like, "Would you like to buy our furniture?" And so we did. So for a really good price, we got a really nice quality couch and sort of Chesterfield and some bedding. And so it sort of, I suppose, was all just very fortuitous. So I'm sure other people maybe have a harder time of it than maybe I did. But at the same time, I think it's just, if we hadn't got along with that couple, they probably wouldn't have offered to sell us their furniture. If we hadn't built a rapport, if I hadn't tried to find a job before I arrived, I wouldn't have started a job so quickly. So, you could call it lucky, but also it's just a little bit of determination.
No, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really good, because you just reminded me of a saying that luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
That's Perfect. Yeah, I've heard that one. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Just a little bit of both.
Yeah. So yeah, you definitely. I think that's the life you lived. And can you remember? And I know it's been a while, like 12 years. You said now, right? So, but can you remember, like, before you came, how long did you start looking for job, and what kind of job and which kind of companies were you targeting?
So it wasn't I mean, for when you met me, I wasn't working in, say, the design field as a full-time career. But when I came to Canada, I had just finished my studies. I had studied spatial design. I was working for an architects and a structural engineers in England. And so that was perhaps my first. I had jobs through school, but this was my first post-school full-time job.
Hmm.
And so I was looking for something similar because I wanted to continue that career path that was in the design field. So for me, I was applying to architecture firms, home builders, anyone that would be able to give me that exposure to the design world here. So I marketed a skill that was, I didn't sort of try and become an interior designer straight away or sell myself as an architect straight away, because
Hmm.
you have to be realistic as to you're coming from another country, you're recently out of school, but what other marketable skills did I have? So drafting. Drafting was something I learned on my course. We did AutoCAD 2D, 3D, a little bit of Studio Max. We could do 3D visuals. And so I marketed myself as a draftsperson. I got to work for a home builder for the first sort of year I was here.
That's really, really excellent. I mean, you said something. You said some people may have struggled, but you
Mhm.
didn't actually have the challenge, and it's very obvious, right? I mean, for you to get here and you get into your professional line within 1 month.
You're making me feel bad because I
No,
know that's not
no, 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 no. Seriously, like it's the kind of things I want. I'll tell you.
Mhm.
I always tell people that when it comes to immigrant life, what I want is to be able to share tips, strategies,
Mhm.
insights, but not just ordinary insight, but actionable insights that will help them thrive. The
Right.
fact that I spent 9 months before I got a professional job doesn't mean that the next person coming after me should. No,
Oh,
I
for
don't
sure.
want that person to do the same. I
Yeah,
want to be able
absolutely.
to. That's the reason. This what I'm doing is pretty much harvesting collective intelligence and making it
Right.
available to people, like readily available, so that you don't have to go searching up and down all over Google and everywhere unsubstantiated things. No, but people can hear the fact that this is Pam that's talking. They can pick
Yeah.
nuggets of what you did, nuggets of what I did, nuggets of what each and different person did, and
Yeah.
apply that to their own unique situation. Hopefully,
Yeah.
that can help them, cut short their integration time. That's all we're after. So you don't have to. I have very good friends who did not have, they have no idea what it is to struggle here. And yet we all came from the same country. You even came
Yeah.
from England. Like I'm talking of people who came from Nigeria. They have no idea what it means because they came here and pretty much they just went straight into, and I'm like, was I cursed? Did I offend some gods?
You know what? I like to, and I think you're a bit the same in this way. I like to look at it all as part of, as they say, life's rich pattern. I feel like we're on the paths we're meant to be on, and if I got there quicker, it's for a reason, and if you got there slower, if you will, it's because there was something else that needed to happen in that time. Um, but I suppose, for, as you were saying, what can people take away from it? I would say this is even the same for people just coming straight out of college, is don't assume you're going to get your dream job straight away, but
Hmm.
have a plan for how you can get there. And
Hmm.
so I knew drafting was an in, so that's why I went that way.
That's a really good one. And I mean, I'm not your, or like, I don't know what I'll say, but I'm proud of what you did. Is what I would say.
Well, thank
So
you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you very much.
So that was really good. So I mean, like you said, we all, I think everything happens for a reason.
Mhm.
We all, I always say this, and people laugh anytime I say we all have a plan until we are punched in the face. I got punched in the face. Then I knew that my plan was a joke.
Definitely teaches you to be open to change.
Exactly. And you know what? If I didn't have the challenges that I had before, I doubt it if I would have immigrant life today.
For sure. 100%.
Which is a bigger blessing, actually, to a lot more people. The reason I started this is simply because I thought, you know what I went through, I thought that was horrible. And I thought maybe if I had this kind of information readily accessible to me, things would have been different. And that's why I started it. So imagine if I didn't go through it, what would have, I mean, I'm just saying, maybe I would have still done the same thing, but I don't know. I just think
you might not have.
I might not have, exactly. So maybe I would have moved on to something else. So it's good. So anyway, let's move on. So when I met, we met somewhere else, not a design company for sure. And
but I had started out drafting there too.
Let's talk about that. And the reason I want to talk about that is we're in a very interesting time, this world now, and there's a lot of uncertainty right now. People are looking at, how do I protect my future? How do I protect my family's income? How do I protect my income? Even for those who are, single and all that, like they still want to maintain a considerable, a good life, right? So, but now they are worried that the job they have right now might get eroded through different things, technology changes, advancement, whatever, company going out of, business and all that. So right now, the challenge and the question people are asking is, how do I pivot my career? How do I move in a different direction so that I can leverage my past experience so that it counts for me in some way and still go in a different direction successfully? Right. You've done that. Like, I know where we met. Like I said, it wasn't a design company. It wasn't a home building company. It was none of that. How did you pull that off once again? You must have some magic sauce. Tell me.
I will tell you. And I don't know if it's magic. It's a little bit of that determination you're talking about. And that maybe it's just everyone has a survival instinct. And so, just that's what keeps me going. But so the hard thing, a year after I came to Canada, and the reason I was only in that job for a year is because the recession hit. There were basically 2 people in our drafting department, and I got laid off. And so a year after that, acquiring that job, there were other layoffs in the city at that time, and I lost my job. So, of course, I was devastated. Like, that's never easy for anyone. But my mentality always is, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself up, and you keep on going. So I thought, okay, what skill do I have? There's a recession. People are losing their jobs. What do I need to do to find myself a new job? And so instead of just looking as a drafter for design or architecture or those firms where perhaps I had more interest, I thought, well, I'll just look for any drafting job because I know drafting is a transferable skill I have. I know I'm quite capable and I can make this work. So the company that you're referring to, they had a drafting department, right? As someone I knew worked there. So I did have a referral. That's not to say I wouldn't have got the job if I didn't, but I will say that, and I'm hoping maybe we'll get to this later in this interview, but the community and the people you surround yourself with are super important. You can do things on your own, but it's way harder. So if you have a friend that can say, listen, I've worked with this person, they're good, I would recommend them, or even they don't really know you that well, but they're willing to recommend you into that position, then absolutely don't feel bad about taking advantage of that if they're offering. And so, perhaps my resume got into the list higher because someone already worked at the company, but it was a deviation from what I had been doing in terms of the type of drafting. But I just ended up in the drafting department there. So again, that was about a month after I lost my job.
Wow.
Yeah.
A month.
Yeah, because again,
I really need to stay your friend because this month, there has to be something about you. A month? Really?
Yeah.
I feel like saying you were cheating.
I got some test scores, and I don't know. Yeah. No, I'm just really determined.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I think a few things I'm taking from what you said is when you were ready to pivot your skills, you knew
Yeah.
you wanted to do that. And one of the things you did, you went a little bit introspective and you thought, you know what? What are the skills I have that I can transfer
Yeah.
into other industries?
Yeah.
So you identify that. That for me is a big, it's very important. It's critical, right? It's like you did an asset evaluation. And when I say asset, I'm not talking, no, seriously, I'm not talking about home. I mean, we'll get there. I'm not talking about the home, the worth of your house. That's not what I mean. But we all have personal assets. We have gifts. We have experiences. We have even languages. We have unique things about us. It could even be the way we talk to people. Those are assets. And, if you think that, what people they get attracted to you easily, you are very likable, those are assets. So you dug into your own self and you thought, what are those skill sets? And you thought, okay, who and who and who and who might be interested? That tells me something. We all are salespeople. We just don't want to admit it.
You have to be.
You have to be, right?
Sales shouldn't necessarily have a negative connotation, right? I mean, if you have something that is of value to people, then you should market that. It will help.
It definitely will help. So no, you did that's really very interesting. I'm happy you mentioned that. And the other thing that comes across is the fact that you also use your network. You leverage, that's another asset. Your network is an asset on its own. So you leverage that and you recognize that's very important. You want to say something?
I was going to say, it's actually, and I'm hoping this will help people that maybe can relate in that way. But even though in that instance I leveraged my network, it was simply I was very close to that person. So in my life, I generally struggle to ask for help. I just want to do it myself, and I don't want to be a burden to people. But something I'm learning and still continuing to learn is that actually people don't mind helping. And so I don't know, I'm sure other people would feel that way. Oh, I don't want to ask them for help. I really need to do this by myself. But if they're a good friend or they care about you, then, or even if they're part of your community, I think people actually like helping people. It's just sometimes I think we can feel like we shouldn't ask. I know I felt that way. I still feel that way. I tend not to, unless it's, I've just lost my job. I need a job. Can someone help? Right?
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I feel you for sure. You lost your job within 1 month and it was all over. I lost my job in 2015. Okay. And I didn't feel that. Like, the first thing I did was, the stages of grief where the first one is a shock, right?
Yeah.
And you go into that self-denial mode, like, no, it's not happening. Or big deal. Like, it's just, I went through all that, and instead of me to actually recover quickly, I hid myself from people. So that's it's a different response. I mean, I got out of it, obviously. But
here you are. I can see you.
Exactly. but I should have asked for help sooner, right? That's the point. And it doesn't mean that when I ask for help, I think part of it will feel, maybe people will feel, maybe they'll judge us, maybe they'll look down on us, maybe they'll think that we're weak, maybe we'll think we end up feeling weak.
Right?
Sorry?
You just don't want to be a bother.
Exactly. You don't want to feel like you owe anybody, those kind of funny feelings. Yeah. But again, it's very instructive. We need to learn to ask for help. So thank you for doing that. That's really good. So you moved on, and for sure, I know, again, that was definitely a success, and that's how we met. But we met in a different capacity. I emphasize, I did not meet you in a drawing. So we met when you were a business analyst.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was a business analyst as well. And I'm just going to cut this short. And today, I know you're a product manager somewhere else. See, you see that? How you just kept on moving. It's like you are a specialist when it comes to pivoting your skills and just moving. Just like, okay, this is what I want to be. The next thing now, I'm going to know, Pam becomes the CEO of whatever, kind of thing. You just say, yeah, I wanted that and I did it. And I did it in 1 month. And I did it 1 month.
That would be nice.
That would be nice, right? Yeah. So let's talk about that. And then I'm going to take you back to our home discussion, because that's the way that's been the trajectory actually of things. So what about business analysis and then product manager? Like, what was it? Tell me about the what do you call it? The transferable skill that took you to be.
That's exactly what we want to go to. So, of course, you might guess that I'm pretty hardworking and I'm pretty driven, and I'm always sort of trying to find the better way to do something, or what can we do?
That's not true, right? That's a lie.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
No, but I mean that does help, right? That's a personality trait I have, and sometimes it could be a negative personality trait, but often it's been a good one. And so I would say, from moving from drafting to business analysis to from design to product management, the transferable skills. And I say this all the time. I say, and I hope this isn't a controversial way to make a point, but politics, a government is no different than a company, is no different than a not-for-profit, which is another type of business and a type of company. And when I say is no different, what I mean is in the skills and the process and the method in which it needs to operate. So for any business to be successful, everything is, you have to interact. You have a customer, probably. It may not be a person. It may be another company. It may be another country. It may be whatever. The maybe negotiation skills, or the project management skills, or the understanding the needs of another person's skills, those are all transferable. If you go to see a therapist is kind of trying to understand your problem and help you through it. If you hire a business analyst is trying to understand your company's problems and help you through it. If you work for a product company as a product manager and you're going to build a product, you're trying to understand what someone needs from your product, and then you're building that so that it meets their needs. As a designer, you're going into someone's home and you're saying, okay, what doesn't work for you? And again, you're kind of looking at how you can improve that. So it requires what I think is base skill sets. And so even for a software developer, maybe I'll move that way just to kind of, that's a type of sort of art and creation process too. It's not typically what we think of art and creation, but they're building a code base that makes your software work from the requirements. And they also need to be able to understand and work with you as maybe the business analyst to translate what you're saying. So I think what I'm really trying to get at is most roles have a skill that's transferable. If you're a coffee server at Tim Hortons, maybe you're a good salesperson, right? Maybe you're good at customer interaction. Maybe you leave that person feeling a little bit better. You could be a salesperson in a different company and do the same thing, right? I don't always think everything is you tailor to the context, but it's a skill set you could apply broadly. I don't know if I articulated that very well.
Yeah, no, I think I got you there. Or what you simply said, correct me here, but what I hear you say is we all always have transferable skills. The problem is probably that we don't realize that we have them.
Yeah.
Because they are so resident with us. They are so natural. It's like asking me to talk about my face. I don't even realize I have a face. Do you understand? Yeah. Like it's so much part of me that I don't even recognize it as such. Or like I have a neck. Like it's not what I look at, but it's there.
Yes.
And if this neck is not there tomorrow, like I become headless, like it becomes a horror movie, right? Halloween or something. But you know what I mean? But so
Yeah.
I get your point. What you're simply saying is we still need to narrow down. And I guess part of the reasons I'm particularly interested in this is people want to change their future. And to change their future, they need to change their present. And to change their present, oftentimes the challenge is they feel they need something that is beyond themselves. They feel they need to go get something else that they don't have before they can change themselves.
Yeah.
And that always leads to, indebtedness. That's why you see people go
Not always
to
true.
school, go study one other course and rake in student loans, 20,000, 30,000 and all that, and still end up not getting what they want. Meanwhile, if they're really very introspective, like you've done successfully a few times, they realize that, you know what, they could probably have that education at some point if they wanted.
Yes.
But for them to change right now,
Yes.
everything they need is already within them. They just need to recognize it and look for who is interested in it. That's what I hear from you.
Absolutely. And you called it introspection, but it's also introspection with a broader vision, right? It's seeing that me as a salesperson at Tim Hortons doesn't have to be limited to the fact that I work. Like, I can take that and I could apply that, right? It's it's just that thinking, how, like you said, how is this transferable? And it often is.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, you've lived it, so I know a few people who've done the same, and I've done the same too, right? I don't know if you remember, I studied biochemistry. I didn't study business analysis or project management or any of these things, you know. So what are we talking about? And I laugh sometimes, and like, my dad must be proud of me, for abandoning what I went to study in school. But that's okay. At least right now. Okay, so let's move on. So reimagine home. I know you touched on that a little bit, talking about design and all that, but what's with the name and what's with that? You are still in this product management, business analysis, and all these other things, but you're running Reimagine Home. Look at just look at your back. Like, I don't have that. I don't think that I'm not creative or that's, no, that's not the point. Okay. But I know you studied spatial designs and that very nicely worded thing, but you're living a different life. So tell me about that. Tell me. Let's talk.
So the name Reimagine Home for my business came to me from the concept of, I like to, much like maybe with my skill set and myself, I like to work with what I have to create something new. So, and maybe that's just coming from England, a lot of it wouldn't be new builds. It would be kind of a renovation of an older house and maybe smaller space living, turning what used to be a house into apartments. And in Canada and Calgary, I've seen we're more inclined to build these kind of new build neighborhoods and communities. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. It's just my interest is more in what do you have and how can I help you transform that into something that you're going to love. And so Reimagine Home was for me sort of articulating that imagination of something different in your home. And so that's kind of how I named my business. And I sort of, I've been doing this for friends and family on and off for 5 years now, maybe a bit longer. But a couple years ago, I decided to register my business. And then, as you've seen this year, I started to sort of market my business and charge for my services because I love it so much. I was doing it for free, but as we all know, that's not necessarily sustainable. And if you're going to run a business, you kind of have to show an income. So this year,
no, it's not compulsory, and I can tell you. I mean, I have a decent space you can play around with, so I'm not going to charge you for using my space.
So you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm playing around with it.
So I started to, put my services out there this year, and I've got a couple projects on the go at the moment. But it's just always been a passion for me. Obviously, as a teenager, I decided to come straight out of high school and go right into design. Not to say I don't love my current career, because I do. I also love being a product manager. I also get a lot of value out of that. And sometimes they say if you do what you love full time, you might start to hate it. So that's always in the back of my mind, is that as I build this business, I've got to keep a tight rein on my enjoyment level and the value I'm providing to people against, where the company's going. But yeah, I just, I really enjoy home redesign. I really enjoy helping people. I really enjoy seeing the end result when they're so happy with their house, whatever it is we've done to it. Maybe just painting even can make a huge difference. And so for me, it was sort of an easy choice to kind of start this business.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's really good. And, it's as you were talking that it occurred to me that, wait a minute, reimagine home. That really ties in with what we're trying to do here, really, which is reimagine your home.
Yeah. Yes.
It really, just as you were talking, I'm like, wait a minute, that actually ties in with this discussion, because what we're doing here is, for us to really thrive, we need to take debt, like debt is associated with daily living. I'm not talking kind of investment kind of thing. We need to take it out of the way. That ensures that when we actually earn money, that money is ours. You know what I mean? Not that you're paying everybody, pay Pam, pay Dapo, pay this, pay that, and then you're like, what's left? Nothing. And then you start to grind again, kind of thing, right? So this really underscores the discussion, and I really need your expertise here now. A lot of us, we want to have enjoyed the bigger things of life. Look at this. I'm hoping people can see my back. This is my home office. This is where I literally live every day. And I am so sure there are wonderful things I can do to this space. This is one option I want to pursue, okay? Because I don't want to break the bank. I don't want to borrow money for it. I don't, even though I have access to the credit. The other option is I can decide I don't want this space again, and I'm going to go buy a bigger house, and of course I will increase my indebtedness, but I don't want to do that. It's optional. So how can we approach things? How do you want people to think? How do you typically, help people out when it comes to that? Sure. So that people, again, where our homes, for me, are places of refuge from the stress of life. There's a place you want to, you've gone to fights and wrestle, but you want to look forward, you want to long for that home. Apart from the people that are there, you also want to love the space. So how can we do that? What does that typically translate to in dollars and cents? And I know every project is different, every house is different, and all those kind of things. But tell me walk us down that journey, that path.
Well, let's start at the very bottom, and then we can go up to the grander scale. And maybe we could use your office as an example, because I could just make some quick suggestions, and then we can sort of say, right? So for a very small budget, let's say $60. Let's say $60. You
$60.
could
$60.
Exactly, Canadian.
Okay.
For those pictures on the right, the papers, if they are a main fixture, you could easily put them in a simple black frame, which accents all the other black you have in the room. Put them in a nice row with equal spacing, and it would immediately look more polished. For the bookcase to your left, you could perhaps put it between that door and that wall, although I kind of don't know if you have enough room behind that door. But theoretically, you could have some shelving there, again in black. Maybe now we're at $100 for you, because you've got to buy some shelving perhaps. But you could arrange your books in color order, or in some aesthetically pleasing, organized way, and it would immediately change the feel of that room. And that's pretty inexpensive. So I think what I'm saying there is a little bit of organization, a little bit of clever staging, if you will, can easily make a room feel different. The next thing I would say is paint. If you're not opposed to color, painting a room can really transform the feel of it. There's a house I was working on recently. They were saying to me, you know, we just don't love our upper living space. It's just there's something about it I don't like. And I'm like, well, did you think about maybe? And I'm like, well, we could do a neutral, but bear with me. What if we put this really nice deep, and it's called Savannah. So if you can picture a nice sort of burnt reddy sort of orange, very deep color, rich color. What if we put that on that wall? It would pull this element in from your flooring. It would pull this element in from your cupboards. It would pull this element in from your furniture. And it would really change the feel of the place. And so they thought about that for a minute and they said, well, it's a bit out of my comfort zone. But what I realized after you said that is what I don't love about this room is that it's too bland. And then they painted the wall plus the little nook in the kitchen and they were thrilled. It felt like a different space. And that's fairly inexpensive. If you don't hire a painter and you're capable of taping and painting yourself, you're just paying the cost of the paint. Now, I will say that's where the value of my services would come in. And I'm not saying that to try and sell myself. I'm literally saying that because they would never have thought of that because it's not how they think. And so that's where I could help people is I can show them something that they maybe wouldn't think of. And I can show them how a color like paint would work with other elements of the room because they could easily have picked a paint color themselves. But if they hadn't had that thinking about how it goes with everything else, it really might not have looked very good. And the same with the suggestions I just made to you. Maybe you don't, and you don't care about it, which is fine. But if you did, maybe just those couple of suggestions makes you go, oh, okay, yeah, and I could do this and I could do that. And really that was 10 minutes of my time. With them, it was half an hour. So anyway, so on the lower end of the scale, those types of things, good organization, good tidyings, clutter, removing clutter, hiding things away that maybe look messy, maybe giving things a lick of paint, that's an easy win. I'll actually also point you to this chest behind me. This is a really old wooden bookcase. We gave it a lick of paint and it's like a new piece of furniture. So
I would never have known that.
Yeah. So if you have some piece of furniture in your house and you're willing to put in the time and effort to sand it down and refinish it, even in a new stain or maybe paint it if that's what you're looking for, those are quick wins. There's also people that can do that for you. And I have, I like to post small businesses on my Instagram. So if you go there, you'll see me kind of advertising, say, salvage restorations that did that for me, or places like that, where they'll do it for a small cost of their time if it's not something you want to put the time in for. But I think that was maybe, I don't want to quote prices because, you know, it's not my business. So, but just so you know, those are simple ways you can change your house. And outside of that, I suppose you could say the sky's the limit, right? Like you could go as far as extending your house, which of course costs a lot of money. And maybe if you don't have the money, that's increasing your indebtedness. Or you could choose to tackle a specific area of the house that's very important to you. Or we could make a few simple updates in many areas to give an overall feel that may not be the end result you're looking for, but it would get you towards it. And that's what I've done on many other projects and that's what I would advise just with anything. You know, if you have a budget or you don't have the money right now, maybe bring someone in to give you a plan that you like, spend that little bit of money up front, that I would like an interior designer or, you know, and they can set you up with here's what you're going towards and you can work towards it. Now you can put your budget towards it. And that's what I've done with some clients too. There's one client I'm showing on my website, and I think I wrote about it in my blog. We renovated the upstairs a little, but they also wanted to do the basement, but they couldn't at that point in time. So I made some suggestions that would help the future basement renovation. We needed to update the electrical panel. So we moved the electrical panel because it would facilitate a bathroom in the location the existing electrical panel was at a future date. We had to change some ductwork, so we reduced the height of some ductwork because it would give them additional head height a little later on. And so I think having a plan, consulting someone, having a full vision, just like with anything, and then working back from it can kind of get you to where you want to be in a time frame that works for your budget and for you.
I feel like clapping.
Oh.
No, that's really good. That's really good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. How about lighting, right? The use of light and lighting, different colors of light, and the use of shadows and things like that to play around. Do you do such as well?
Yes. Lighting is an interesting one because I often feel like it gets overlooked. You can easily just sort of say, oh, I'm going to put some pot lights here and I'm going to put a light there and not give it much more thought because you're super focused on the eye level. I think putting some thought into how lighting can set a mood in an area, or, if you're in a bedroom, you probably don't want a daylight bulb because you're going to be trying to get to sleep most of the time. So maybe you look for a yellow light. Whereas in the bathroom, of course, you need some task lighting. So probably over the vanity, maybe you'd go for a white light. In the shower, though, maybe you'd consider some more mood lighting, or and of course, there's also the flow to lighting. So again, you could just do your standard distances, which you have to do for code, say for plug sockets. But that thought to, I walk into the room and I turn on the light switch and it lights up this area of the room because that's what I'm doing in this part of the room. I walk down the hallway, I'm going to go to my bedroom, I'm going to turn the light switch off and it needs to turn off the light back from where I came. Like that type of thinking to the flow of the room is super important to make functional lighting design. So not just the aesthetic, it looks really cool if I light up this wall, or I feature this picture, or maybe plant lighting. You can see I like plants. Maybe you create a little nook for some nice plant lighting, but also how are you using that space? What's your flow of traffic through the room, and therefore where is it sensible to have a light switch? Those are the types of things that, of course, a designer can bring to your renovation or to any changes you're making.
And I must say, even though you didn't precisely talk about this, looking behind you, I like the way you played around with lights over there. I definitely love it. So I'm just
little reflection.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like a gradient light kind of thing. Just it's cool. Like I see it, I admire it. It doesn't mean I can do it. I'm just saying.
You can do anything, Gatho.
Okay. No, it definitely shows. I could see your eyes light up and the passion with which you spoke as we were going through all that. So I know you're definitely working and you're talking about something that you really love, which is cool. I don't know who said this, but I've always known this from a kid. Like the quote it goes like this, says, my dad always told me to find a job that I love so that I end up not working for the rest of my life.
Yeah. That's dream.
What I see. That's a dream, right?
Yeah.
That's a dream. Yeah, I know. I actually want to be by the beach right now, and
I don't know what job that is. Bartender on a beach, maybe.
Well,
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this question. So, if people, you know what? No, let me not ask that one now.
Okay.
Being in this business for this last little while, 5 years thereabouts, till now, what has this business taught you about yourself and about people, particularly immigrants?
I wish I had a good answer for you on the immigrant part, because I haven't specifically reflected on that. I don't know. I guess I just sort of live my life and I am where I am and it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, I have learned to have confidence in myself. So I think we can easily undermine ourselves and think, oh, it would be too hard to make a go of that. Or what if I say something stupid? Or what if I don't really know what I'm talking about? That imposter syndrome. We might have 10 years of schooling. We might have done thousands of examples of, yes, we can do this, but we're still sort of feeling, oh, well, would anyone really pay me for that? And so I think just by trying, with a little encouragement from my friends and my family, I've proven that I am competent and capable, and I can provide something of value that to others that they really value and that really makes a difference to them. Because as you said, you're home, you're spending a lot of time there. Maybe you're coming back from work. Maybe now with COVID, you're actually working there all the time. And you really want a space that you can be comfortable and happy and stress-free. And so it's been really wonderful for the projects I've worked on to just kind of bring that to people. And yeah, so I guess I've learned, I can. I'm like the little engine that could. We're all the little engines that could. It's just we've got to have the confidence in ourselves to believe that we can do it.
Thank you. I think that's really very instructive. Anyways, I can't. I mean, I don't know. We can flog that when we say we need to be confident. We need to be willing to try. We need to be willing to take the risk. We need to be willing to actually accept that we have something of value.
Yeah.
That can change somebody else's life and change somebody else's mood and get people out of their ruts, so the way they think and all that. So I think that's really good. Thank you for bringing that.
Be brave.
Sorry?
Be brave,
right? Be brave. Yeah, exactly. Just be brave.
Scary, but be brave. What's the worst that could happen? You fail and you learn something. Failure's not bad.
There's even no failure. That's why John Maxwell says sometimes you learn, sometimes you win. There is no fail.
That's better. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you learn, sometimes you win. That's it. So it means if it doesn't go according to plan, you learn.
Yeah.
And if it goes according to plan, you win. But even at that, you still learn anyways, and you move forward. That's really good. That's good. So let's talk about the future. Let's talk about what's up for you. But first and foremost, how can people engage your service?
Message me on any of the platforms that I'm available on. So that would be Facebook or Instagram or via my website. I'm also on house.com. Reimagine.
What's your website?
reimaginehome.ca. And my Instagram is reimagine_home. And my Facebook page is Reimagine Home. See, I can't remember that. I should have got it. But it's linked on my website. So if you go to my website, reimaginehome.ca, you can get to everything from there. But really, even if you just would like me to help you answer some questions, free of charge, I'm happy to offer advice all day. Just message me, Instagram, Facebook, from my website, and I'm happy to respond.
That's good. And just to also let you, just a reminder, listeners are all over the country. They're not just in Calgary here. They're in Ontario. They're in Yellowknife, weird places, eh?
Yeah.
They're in Quebec. They're in, I just have people all over. So does that stop you from consulting for people?
No.
In any way?
Not from, obviously there's lots of great video conferencing technology now. So Zoom is probably one. Zoom, even using WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, you can kind of get a face-to-face with people. What I will say, a challenge for us designers is in that type of virtual world is color matching. So that color coming through my camera may not be the same color as it is in your living room, because if you weren't aware of it, I'm letting you know colors change depending on the room it's in, whatever's next to it. So even though that's a challenge, I would say there's definitely ways around it. We could put the sample board together. We could send that to you if it was sort of flat, maybe paint samples and fabric. In terms of if it were sort of tile samples or carpet or hardwood, I could certainly research the stores in your area that carried those, and you could go and pick them up and bring them to your home and put them all together and see if it works. So there's definitely ways around it. It might just be a little bit more legwork than I would normally expect on your end, because I'm not there to do it.
And I think this is a nice segue into the next question I really wanted to ask, which is, what's next for you? How are you planning to grow your business? Are you planning like people in, let's say somebody, one listener just calls you up from Yellowknife. You're not going to fly down, I don't think, unless it's really a huge project, right?
Yeah.
That really demand. Yeah. So I would assume that you probably will be looking at having some partnerships in local places, kind of thing. Are you looking at how do you want to expand your business? Like, what
Sure.
does the future hold?
Well, I have actually flown to Denver for a consultation, but they paid for
Oh,
my
wow.
flight. So that makes the difference.
I'm in Calgary. I don't have to pay.
It was part of the, but yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, I would cross that bridge when I came to it, right? Like that was kind of what I was alluding to. If someone from out of province wanted to use my services or wanted my advice, we could certainly meet and figure out how that would work. And when I said I could call local businesses, that's what I meant. I'd find out who had the samples that we need based on what I would find in Calgary. So, you know, if I needed a tile sample from Amy's or Dal Tile or Eurotile, I'm sure there's suppliers out there, and then I could just figure that out for them. Yeah.
Whew. That's really good. Thank you. So are you planning to get into politics or?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, you know, I have to ask you that.
Yes, I'm kind of out of love with politics in general. It's never been sort of, it's not to say it's never been an area of interest for me because I am interested in it, but I am very disheartened by a lot of the things I see in the political world today. And so if you say you're going to do a job you love so that you never work a day in your life, that would not be it for me. Stress and heartache. So probably not politics. You're a not-for-profit, I guess. Is that the right way to kind of term immigrant life?
I mean, it depends. Immigrant life, to be clear, definitely is for profit.
Yes.
In the sense, but for my listeners, I say it, people will always have this for free.
Yes.
They'll always listen for free, but there will be some other back end. We have to find a way to foot the bill, right? But it's not going to be the listeners. That's what I mean. Yeah.
So I guess so I don't really know what you'd call it, but I'm certainly more interested in, you know, helping other people or helping wildlife or nature. Like, I don't know if that sounds kind of foofy, but that is something that's close to my heart. You know, we all have to live on this planet. We have to live with each other. So even though it's good to help each other, I'd also like to help make, you know, animal conservation, wildlife conservation, those types of things interest me. I just, as you may have figured out, have quite a lot of irons in the fire at the moment, so that's probably further down the road. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't bring those types of thinking into the design you do, right? So I recently joined a Facebook group that's about kind of sustainable design. And I like the sustainable design thinking. It's not always possible due to kind of cost but if you can bring that concept in, even by, you know, making sure you have a good insulation so your heat's retaining heat better, maybe replacing the windows before you do something else to cut down on your heating bill in that way. Those types of thinking are kind of simple things we can do environmentally, but make a difference. Yeah.
No, that's cool. I would just want to bring your attention to something.
Yeah.
Which is the fact that sometimes the very things that anger us, the very things that make us unhappy, they're the very things we've been sent to correct. I just want to bring that to your awareness. Okay? Just saying, you know, I'm not saying anything more than that, but I'm just reminding you.
I cannot see the political party of Pam. I
didn't even mention politics, did I?
Okay. Yeah.
All I said, and I'll repeat it, is that sometimes the very things that anger us, the things that make us unhappy all the time, when we think and see and experience it, they are the things we've been sent to correct. They're the things, you know. So I'm just saying, whatever that means for you, you think about it.
I will. I often find myself asking the question, I do not know how I could change that. I wish I could. Maybe if I one day figure out how I could change that, maybe that will be a thing I look at. But I'm still trying to figure it out. So.
No, sure. I mean, yeah, we have time. So,
well, I'm 50, so it's a better thing wrong with being 50, but not quite there yet.
So let's talk about immigrant life.
Yes.
Ever since, I mean, you're aware of this project of mine that I started for different reasons, blah, blah, blah. What do you think about it? I'm inviting you to judge right now. And I'm inviting you to also, seriously, just what do you think? Like, about the endeavor, what do you think? What has anything even changed for you? You've listened to a couple episodes, and what has changed for you? What would you say to other people who are not part of the community?
Yeah.
And based on your own experience, based on just what you know, the little that you know, what's your thoughts and what's your advice?
Sure. It's definitely something I would suggest to people. Like, of course, being an immigrant myself, I've had questions. How did you do it? What did you do? What would you advise? What's this process like? How's the government? And, I haven't really had places to send people beyond, say, the GCCA website, Government of Canada website, or my own context, or suggesting in some cases, maybe an immigration lawyer would help you. And so I think now this would be an extra resource for me to point people towards. Well, I know there's my friend Dapo, he's started this business, immigrantlife.ca. He's building a community where you can kind of ask those types of questions and kind of get help as a first-time immigrant to Canada, hear other people's stories, maybe that'll help you. So I think what this awareness has done for me is just being able to recommend a community to people where they can come and maybe seek help and advice in a really non-judgmental and friendly way. And I say this is important because I mentioned it earlier on. It's definitely, you can do it by yourself, but it's way easier if you have support. And so knowing that there's a community of people that want to support you, that's a pretty cool thing. And so, yeah, I guess that's what I've learned. There's a community for immigrants like me.
Oh, thank you for that. Actually, I like the fact that you underscored the importance of community, because there's something else you said, but it's also still community, that the group, the people that you mix with determines a lot in how fast you settle and how well you settle. You said something like, I'm just paraphrasing, but you said it at the very beginning, right? So it's still talking about community, actually. So I like the fact that you really emphasize that we can do it alone, but hey, it's easier if we sit on the shoulders of those who have gone ahead of us. So
yeah. And it's basically, by putting yourself into this community, you're saying, I am willing to help. So that concern that I had earlier on, I said, well, we don't like to ask people for help. You don't want to be a burden. Well, your community is saying, no, please ask us for help. You're not a burden. So it's kind of taking that pressure off too, right? So nice.
Yeah, thank you, Pam. This is fun. I've enjoyed myself.
I've enjoyed myself too.
You've enjoyed yourself too, right?
So I'm only going to meet with you in this format in the future. We don't have to record it, but I need like this is cool. It's working for me.
Thank you. That's an endorsement right there.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Thank you. So I guess the last two questions I'll have for you, for me, is number one, if you had just, this is Pam, and forget design, forget anything else, forget everything else, but if you had just 30 seconds to change someone's life through what you say, what would that be? Your time starts now.
Prepare for this one. You gave me a little heads up, so I'm going to read you what I wrote down. So this one, so what I said is I would tell someone to keep trying, keep learning, be open to others and to advice, and don't give up. So even when things seem tough, like you've lost your job or things aren't going as smoothly as you'd like, because in maybe Dafo's case, it took 9 months to find the job you wanted. Don't give up. And above everything else, be kind and be in it for others as much as you're in it for yourself. Because, I mean, we are all in this together, and helping others helps you. If you want to think of it even in a self-serving way, you're going to feel good if you help that person, and they're going to feel good because you help them. I mean, what's better than that?
Thank you, Pam. That's good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there something else you think we should have? I always think I do a great job asking questions and trying to poke and, put people under pressure. But I think you just, I don't know what you did to me, but I think I've been very lenient with you today. I've not put you under any pressure or something. So is there something else that you think seriously, that you like, that's in your heart, you really want to say? Could be about anything, design, whatever it is, that you want to seize this opportunity and actually just say that we've not touched or whatever.
Not really. I mean, I would just say thank you for having me on this. This is really fun for me. I hope that I've given people some helpful advice, things they maybe hadn't thought of, or things maybe they've thought of but didn't realize would work. I hope that it's come through that I like offering advice. I like helping people. You can reach out to me, and it's not going to say here's the bill. But of course, if you did want to take on my services, then I'm happy for that too. But yeah, I'm hoping that, if nothing else, maybe for anyone that is a first-time immigrant to Canada, I'm hoping my story has given you something helpful, something that you can leverage that makes your time here the success you want it to be.
Yay. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Pam. Thank you so much. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than to say thank you, because you've invested yourself. Like, I like using quotes, not like I cram them, but there are people who say things that make sense to me and I like to use them. I'll quote John Maxwell again. He says success is all about you. Okay. But living a life of significance is when you actually focus on other people. And that's what you've done here. You've come in here, you've poured into others. You may not see them. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
You may never get to meet them. That's the funny thing about this whole thing. But you know what? One day, sometime tomorrow in future, somebody's going to look back and say, I heard it was that thing that Pam said that helped me in this right direction. You know what? When we can do things, we all do things and they pay us. But a lot of times, what really even gives us a lot more fulfillment are the things that we do that people can't even pay us for. That's what you've just done. And if people can use your service, I will definitely encourage guys, use Pam. Okay. Once you understand you, number two, she's doing it. It's a passion. It's different from, oh, this is what I studied in school. She's fortunate. She's just one of those people. Yeah, she studied an element of that, but this is a passion. Like, come on, look at me, guys. I studied biochemistry, right? So if that's not what I'm doing today, but if you find me teaching biochemistry or anything, you just know that this guy he's just wasting his time. Don't patronize any biochemistry service that I offer. Just don't, because it's not from my heart. Okay, but she's doing it. It's from her heart. She's enjoying it, and seriously, she wants to help you. So before you go take that extra loan, even if you're convinced, yes, you can take care of it. No problem.
Don't do it.
Just oh, see, you hear? She said, "Don't do it. Don't do it." But sometimes we have to realize we all have limits.
Yes.
I can't force anybody. I can't make decisions for people. So sometimes people are still convinced they need to do. No problem. All I ask is reach out to Pam. At least talk to her. You can leave her. You can hand a call and then walk straight to the bank and go take that loan. No problem. But talk to her first is all I ask, because you deserve it. I will never bring to this studio anybody that's not going to serve you with all passion and sincerity and integrity. So Pam, there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For saying that.
Yeah, no problem. So, guys, this is what we're going to hand it today. It's been Pam and myself, Pamela Easterbrook, and my name, Dapo Bankola. However you want to pronounce it, just don't lose a tooth pronouncing my name. That's all I ask, but, that's my name. Anyway, so it's been ourselves and myself in the studio today, and I hope you've had fun listening to the two of us. If you have any questions, reach out to Pam, reimaginehome.ca. Or if you have any questions, hey, reach out to me, thrive@immigrantlife.ca. That's what it is, thrive, THRIVE @immigrantlife.ca. That's the email. I will always respond. I respond personally. I don't have PAs now, except if you want to be my PA. But anyway, all I'm saying is we will not leave you alone without any help. So having said that, thank you and have a good day.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Immigrant Life, the Canadian Narrative. If you like today's show, please tell your friends, families, and colleagues about it, and we'll see you in the next episode. Remember that you can get your questions answered or even provide feedback just by recording your thoughts directly on our website, immigrantlife.ca. Mopeth Systems Corp., Calgary, copyrights this program. All rights reserved.